Hello and welcome everyone, I am Madals and this is another StarCraft 2 England cast. Now today I have got just a ladder game. It should be a bit of fun. It is between everyone's favourite rager, EGIdrA, who is the red Zerg in the lower right position. He's playing against a player called MaSsan, who I believe is FG is for Flow Gaming, but I'm not 100% sure on that, so don't count me as written in stone or anything like that, because I could be wrong. Now this is therefore a ZvZ, and that means there's going to be lots of varied openings, lots of interesting things that could go on. Now I believe MaSsan, I gave him a quick look on Wikipedia, and from what I found out, it would appear that he's a South Korean player, and well, he should be pretty good. I mean, if he is on Flow Gaming, he should do pretty well. So I'm really looking forward to this game. I think it should be very, very good. And where I found it had a great write-up on it, and therefore I'm expecting it to be really a solid game actually. And I'm really interested to see which way this goes, because obviously EGIdrA hasn't been putting up those big performances as he was sort of early on in Wings of Liberty. So we'll wait and see what he does here. Now, obviously, being ZvZ, both players have gone for an Overlord first before any pulls. So that basically means cheese is pretty much out of the question. There is some cheesy builds you can do, like get a hatchery but not actually use it for drones and just flood loads of Zerglings. But I mean, so far we're probably going to have things pretty clear, to be honest. I mean, both players up to 14-14. We may actually see double hatch first. I mean, ultimately, Shakura's Plateau quite safe to do that on, because there are quite narrow ramps up to the natural. They're quite easy to hold. But spawning pool on the way down for MaSsan there. He's also getting up that gas. It was pool, then gas, not the opposite way around. So it was a 14-14, I believe. It might have been 14-13, but EGIdrA going for that hatch first, so he's going to have a better economy, assuming he can hold off anything that MaSsan does. Now, the better economy is quite relative, because obviously by getting that spawning pool earlier, you get a queen out earlier. That earlier queen means you get an earlier inject, which means you get 4 lava earlier, which basically means you could potentially have 4 drones earlier. And that does have a knock-on effect very, very early game, but going into the mid and late game, the extra hatchery does actually play its part a lot more, because once you get 2 queens out, obviously that is quickly brought back into your favour. But of course, EGIdrA, he does have to worry about what this spawning pool and gas can be used for. There are 3 harvesters in the gas right now. That may change. It depends on whether MaSsan is going purely for Zergling speed and then pulls the drones out of gas in order to basically get as many minerals as possible. He could leave 2 in, get Banelings up, going to Ling Bling. That's really phase 2 of ZvZ. Phase 1, of course, is who has the most Zerglings. Phase 2 is Zergling Baneling, where Baneling control is what really matters. And then, of course, you go into Roaches, and then either Roach Infestor, Roach Hydra, or various other things. Now, this drone coming down here for MaSsan is going to be an expansion. So, as you can see already, his second hatchery only going down pretty much at the same time that EGIdrA is finishing. The first queen already on the way. So, yes, one inject has already gone down. The second one may not come out for a while. The second queen hasn't yet started for MaSsan. There we go. So, everything going where it should be. We do have great Overlord players by placement by both of these players. EGIdrA, well, firstly, he's seen the expansion come down, that queen coming out to see if he can pick anything off. This second Overlord just at the ram sees any movements. MaSsan, again, using the high ground just so it is safe. He still gets all the vision. That second Overlord just making sure he knows exactly what is going on. We'll see the creep squad. A Spine Crawler was forced to cancel there by those 2 Zerglings from MaSsan, who's just poking and prodding and being a little bit irritating. There are only those 2 Zerglings on the field. 2 Zerglings out here as well now for EGIdrA, who's getting up that Spine Crawler, ready to be defensive, because of course the Overlord will have seen that that hatchery was a lot later than his own, and therefore EGIdrA should be able to deduce that there is something going on here. Speed is nearly done. Obviously the drones were pulled out of gas. EGIdrA is getting up the Baning nest. He's also got speed already on the way and the extractor coming out, so everything fairly normal there. That Overlord is going to get knocked out actually. That is a big loss. EGIdrA of course getting supply block there, and he has got 2 more Overlords in production, but that temporary supply block is going to be very irritating for him. 2 speedlings are on the way, and that will of course reveal to EGIdrA that MaSsan does have speed already. MaSsan, looking at his base, he's transferred quite a few drones. The drone count 23 to 25 in MaSsan's favour. That's really showing how early on that additional or the earlier queen does actually have a knock-on effect in terms of the number of lava. So in the short term, obviously MaSsan is ahead, but EGIdrA should start pulling forward now, to be honest. That injects slightly sooner, and he has had those extra injects. He should indeed also have quite a few more Zerglings on the field. So ultimately, EGIdra's been forced to build quite a few more Zerglings, and that has the result of him having, well, now 1 more drone, but again, slightly less drones than he may have had earlier. MaSsan is getting down that Roach Warren, building a nice little wall off here with the queen and the spine. That means any kind of Ling Bling pressure will have to go the long way around past that spine crawler, taking 2, probably 3 hits before it can engage. MaSsan being very, very good with those Zerglings at the moment, just poking and prodding, speed dump both players. EGIdra taking his second and third gas, hasn't taken the second gas in his main, getting lair up. Meanwhile, MaSsan has a side lair, is now getting his second and third gas, but at different opportunities now. In different bases rather. The reason those different bases is quite important is because this Overlord, specifically for MaSsan, or anything scouting, will see 2 gas here. The natural assumption will be, well, that means 4 gas, because generally players take gas in their main first. We do have an evolution chamber on the way down now for MaSsan as well, who is getting up his own lair, but is quite a long way behind. The Roach Warren and Evo on its way down for EGIdrA, but of course the Roach Warren already finished for MaSsan. The injects going well so far, both players just pumping an awful lot of their lava into drones, pretty much all of them actually. 39 to 38, so the drone count very equal. The tech very similar. EGIdrA quite a long way ahead, about 30 seconds or so ahead in his lair timing, but obviously MaSsan had roaches out sooner, so yeah, which way do you call it? It's all pretty even. Both players really just droning. +1 on the way out for EGIdrA already. MaSsan now starting that +1 missile attack, so both players going for a very similar build, going to be quite heavily focused indeed on those roaches, but the infestation pit has just been started by EGIdrA. That is a very critical upgrade in my opinion, but the third hatchery on the way out for MaSsan. Now, that infestation pit will of course allow pathogen glands, the critical upgrade, allowing infestors to basically fungal growth when they pop. That will make EGIdrA so cost effective against MaSsan's roach army, should MaSsan go for an awful lot of roaches. And of course, the infestation pit only just started now for MaSsan. Look how much later that is, probably a good like 35, nearly 40 seconds later. But interestingly, EGIdrA doesn't have an Overlord over here at all, so he has no clue that third base, which is a bit of a slip up in my opinion, because MaSsan, you'll see here, does have that Overlord at the third base position, ready to see exactly when EGIdrA takes it. Now, in my opinion, you should always keep an Overlord at all of the expansion positions, just so you know. Creep spread for EGIdrA, non-existent. He doesn't have any creep tumors. However, MaSsan does have this creep spread going over to his third, which I personally think is a good move. There's pros and cons to spreading creep against in a ZvZ matchup, because obviously it helps your opponent as well. But I generally feel that the vision is worth it, and also at least joining up your bases is very important. EGIdrA just spreading some creep there. I'll probably move a spine crawler over and perhaps build a spine. We do have 4 infestors already on their way out. Pathogen glands nearly complete. We do have pathogen glands only just starting now for MaSsan. That overseer for EGIdrA is getting a good bit of information. We'll see the drone transfer, and we'll make it very apparent that there is that third base down there now. Of course, the +1 upgrades nearly done for both players. The roach speed nearly done for both players. MaSsan and EGIdrA both on very similar supply counts. If we look at the working count though, only bang on even now. And that should mean that EGIdrA, as he's pulling ahead in supply, is now getting a lot more army. He does also have a lot more workers right now, but MaSsan is catching that up for the moment. So this is all very interesting. Of course, the infestors, that's a key difference. 4 infestors are out for EGIdrA compared to none at the moment for MaSsan, who is getting 3. Those fungal growths are very effective against roaches, primarily because obviously they deal good damage, they deal bonus damage against armored, which roaches of course are. But the other reason that fungal growth is so potent is the roaches have a relatively low range, and say you were to fungal this group and then bring your army in from there, you get a much better attack angle. Only a couple of your opponent's roaches can engage. You can't get good surrounds or anything like that if your units are all clumped up. So that is another reason why it's effective. I love the fact EGIdrA is using Generate Creep out of, or what is it? Yeah, it is Generate Creep out of Moment of Madness there, basically to join his bases up. So that is all pretty nicely done right there by EGIdrA. More infestors on the way out for MaSsan. More roaches. The +2 missile attack on its way out for EGIdrA. That's already a quarter done. It's not even on the cards yet for MaSsan. EGIdrA up to 5 infestors. Of those additional 3 plop out, 6 for MaSsan. And of course, MaSsan now taking his 4th base. That is incredibly early and a very bold move for taking his 4th base. Both these players are incredibly passive right now. MaSsan getting up his Hydralisk den, and I think that is such a good move. Just a couple of Hydras thrown in can be incredibly potent, because while they can't take much damage, they deal very good damage. A +2 missile attack on the way out for MaSsan right now. EGIdrA though, he is far ahead with that upgrade. What, probably about a minute or so, just doing some quick arithmetic in my head, and that minute ahead will be very good. But MaSsan, he's getting the double upgrades. That +1 armor will help him level up the armor upgrades and basically put him ahead in terms of upgrades overall. The Hydra Den on its way out now for EGIdrA as well, so hopefully he himself will also grab just a couple of units. Those spine crawlers moving forward now. Overseers poking and prodding everywhere. And to be honest, this is a very even game right now. Neither of these players seem to want to be engaging, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, as we see here, MaSsan, he's taking up all of his gas. That's going to be his 7th and 8th gas. His 4th base nearly finished. EGIdrA incredibly far behind, but again, no Overlord positioned anywhere around here trying to get any scouting information on when those additional bases go down. So That's quite surprising, in my opinion, and definitely something which can only be categorized as a flaw, because that is information that EGIdrA doesn't have. And obviously, StarCraft 2 is a game which really does rely on you knowing what your opponent is doing and when. EGIdRA's fourth base is now on its way up. Both these players are so incredibly passive. I mean, if we look in terms of the units killed, only 5 units killed compared to 0. In terms of the lost tab, only 300 resources have been lost, which are all minerals as far as I am aware, in, what, 14 minutes 20 of this game. But hang on, we've got some Hydras coming over now. EGIdrA has lost, of course, a couple of Overlords. That Overseer taking a lot of damage. That gets picked up very quickly. That's going to be irritating. EGIdRA's maxed out, though, at 200 of 200. And to be honest, I'm really feeling that EGIdRA should push at the second that +2 missile attack finishes. And that's exactly what he's going to do. The timing here, absolutely spot on. Push forward, deal some damage, try and pick up a couple of Overlords, because why on earth not? And that even supply blocks MaSsan right now, and that is going to be very irritating. The spore, creeper tumors rather, are getting picked off. We do have even a couple of changelings up on the high ground. That is just great use of getting scanning information. But here we go, a big engagement coming in, some good fungal growth going off, but EGIdRA gets a very good arc, massive fungal growth on MaSsan right now, and that is just dealing so much damage, preventing his army engaging properly. EGIdRA's Hydralisks are doing so much damage, and this is going so far in EGIdRA's favour right now. And to be honest, with those 18 additional roaches on the way up, those fungal growth still being completely on the money, to be honest, I don't see MaSsan coming out of this very well at all. All of EGIdRA's infestors are still up, 30 reinforcements compared to what, about 14? So this is looking very, very good indeed. EGIdRA just pulling back, reinforcing. His fourth base is up, but if we look at the work count, 73 to 73, theoretically their income should be exactly equal. A hive on the way out now for MaSsan. EGIdRA's pulling back with all of these units for the moment, needs more energy on those infestors, doesn't have anything for fungal growth right now, so a couple just ticking in now, should have enough energy shortly on the rest, just needs to be very, very careful. Fifth base coming out for MaSsan right now. That is just such expansion heavy ZvZ style, something you see a lot of lower league Zergs and even some higher level players very nervous of expanding in ZvZ, just because of the ability for your opponent to very suddenly tech switch. But this is now very much getting into the late game of ZvZ, and as shown by the hive coming down from MaSsan, I think that's a good timing. The +2 carapace coming down, that's 2-1 against 2-1 upgrades, so upgrades are equal. There's still a handful of Hydralisks in there for EGIdRA though, compared to none of MaSsan. 44 to 43 roaches, 6 infestors compared to 3. That is where the big difference is. MaSsan now going for just an incredible surround, trying to get the best attack angles he possibly can, but the fungal growth coming off everywhere. This is so hard to watch. I mean, there's just so much going on. EGIdRA seems to be cleaning this up very nicely though, and now look at this attack arc, just so good. Look at the amount of angles around here. Some infestors getting picked up. There's a big win. EGIdRA should clean this up very comfortably now. He liked what MaSsan was trying to do, but just didn't really work out for him right now. And of course, EGIdRA now capable of going in for a massive counter-attack. He is maxed out. He's getting 17 more roaches on the way. Getting the +2 ground armor upgrades as well. Now the +3 missile attack upgrade on the way out for MaSsan. Of course, Hive has completed. EGIdRA not started on the Hive yet, but he is getting his 7th and 8th gas. And now here we go, massive fungal growth. Absolutely brilliant. And just look at the damage those Hydralisks are doing. Just a handful in the army composition. They're just so potent. A fungal growth goes off, but only manages to kill 1 unit. Now that 5th base for MaSsan will now go down. It didn't get to do anything at all, but it did provide some production capability. EGIdRA banking an awful lot of minerals right now. Needs to be careful about that. Could possibly try and take his own 5th base now just to stay ahead. We'll wait and see. But EGIdRA, he's just a good chunk of supply, better than his opponent, to be honest. And that basically means they should have the capability to go and deal a lot of damage. 5 Hydras coming in for MaSsan right now. Let's just have a look at the unit composition. Well, to be honest, EGIdRA has more Hydras. He has more units on the field. Those infestors for MaSsan, not much energy on each of them, only enough for 2 fungal growth, so they need to be bang on. And that was a good fungal growth, to be honest. Needs to be careful though where the rest come. Needs a fungal growth from EGIdRA, which were a bit late, so they didn't do the max damage they could. But EGIdRA just has more stuff right now, and it's so hard to fit it all on the screen. But to be honest, EGIdRA should be able to clean this up quite nicely. Those Hydralisks for MaSsan are getting picked off, and now MaSsan's very thoroughly packed into a corner. A couple of infested stones getting thrown down, but I expect to see a GG any second, because EGIdRA, he did play very well, and there was a GG well played from the very well-mannered MaSsan. So guys, that was an awesome game. If you did like it, please comment, please like the video, and subscribe, because ultimately I get new top level games up every single day of the week. So subscribe so you don't miss out on any. Hope you did enjoy, and flick over to my channel and watch some more. See you in a bit. Bye for now.